Hey guys, welcome to the Strength Solutions Podcast. You can find us on Apple and Spotify. You can rate and review us. Check us out on YouTube. Hit the subscribe and like button. Then also, guess what? We have a website. It's strengthsolutionspodcast.com. We have free blogs, free guides, and programs for purchase. Email strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com. Then social media, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram is Strength Solutions Podcast. I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
Okay, dude. So we're into February,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a big crowd that comes in January, and all of a sudden it starts tapering off for one reason or another. But recently, I have seen in the gym people wearing like knee tape, and all of a sudden they're wearing sleeves.
Mm-hmm.
And it led me to thinking, how many people get surgeries that don't need surgeries because they don't understand proper technique? And also, it's just, this is what the doctor said.
Yeah. I mean, working in the PT clinic and stuff like that, we'd see a lot of people who had acute injuries, or even like chronic use stuff, right? Like if they tore something or if it was just use over time and things like that. And the chronic use ones were more of the ones where I would kind of wonder, a lot of the time. I know with the PTs that we had, at least, like the ones that we know and stuff, they were really, adamant about trying to keep people away from going to surgery. That was the goal. It's like, maybe let's see if there's another way around this, especially if it's a chronic use type thing where it's just like, I guess you could say wear and tear, over the years and things like that. And that's where it kind of comes in even more into play of being able to just move properly or strengthen and things like that. For example, I was talking to a client today and he was telling me that his son, who's a runner, just ran a half marathon, I think, recently, and was telling him that he'd been having some like knee issues. Mm-hmm. And that my client was like, well, you should probably, strength train a little bit, 2-3 times a week or whatever. Which,
I wonder who told him that.
Yeah, which is good advice, right? But for people who don't do that or don't know any better, you probably go to a doctor, say, hey, my knee hurts from running. They're going to be like, oh, well, you got to do this or stop running altogether, and it just kind of comes down to like, I don't know, misinformation or just not knowing,
I just think there's so much. Let's take the runner, for example. Again.
Okay.
And knee. Well, how are you landing? How are you striding? You're just thinking about running as not a skill.
Like proper technique, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Coming back to that.
And, there are good candidates for surgery. Let's say I tear my ACL and it's like completely off. Well, maybe it's a good idea to get a surgery.
Right. Exactly. Right. Like in those cases, I think that's maybe your only option. Right. Mm-hmm. Now there's other cases where it's like partial, or like, sprains or things like that, where most likely you can get away with proper strength training, rehab, recovery, things like that, and probably get back to a pretty similar, if not same place that you were at beforehand.
Yeah, and then let's talk about this too. So it's January. They're going, a lot of people are going for weight loss. So now not only are you compounding the interest because you're lifting a lot more, you're moving a lot more, you're creating bad patterns, but you're creating a lot more inflammation and not recovering from it because you don't have enough nutrients in your body, right?
Wow.
So it compounds because you're eating a lot less.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting thing. I don't think that we think about like big scope, of all of those issues and stuff like that. Everybody does go for weight loss, which is kind of unfortunate. We've talked in the past about if I'm a beginner and, what do I do to start my fitness journey and things like that. And we usually, our advice is start with strength training, right?
Correct, yeah.
I think too many people start with the weight loss route, the running route, the loads of cardio route. And then
build your body first, right?
Build your body first, right? Because most likely it hasn't been built at all. If anything, it's just been worn down, right? And then like you're saying, you go in, you're like, all right, I'm going to cut my calories even more. I'm going to start doing things I've never done before. My body's totally unadapted for it. I'm not going to feed it. It seems so counterintuitive, but everybody ends up doing it. I'm sure we've all been,
I used to do it all the time.
Yeah. And it's funny because it makes sense, right? Like to a general person, I'm sure. Like,
humans are not machines.
We are not machines,
I'm a robot. My name's Edwin.
I'm a machine. Yeah, maybe y'all are.
But I think people forget about that, right? Like the nutrition half of it. Like, are you getting enough protein? Are you getting enough carbohydrates to restore the muscle's glycogen? you're in a deficit. So at some point you need to go, and it's probably been right now about 2.5 to 3 months. It's a good time to go into a maintenance phase.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For a lot of these people who are feeling injured, who's feeling broken, who's feeling tired, maybe you're pushing yourself too far. You're doing 2-a-days. Maybe it's time to pull back. And at this point, it's a better time to get recovery.
And I think that, while a lot of people, resolutioners and things like that, I know it's a few months past that, you have so much motivation, right? And you're like trying to push super hard. So it's hard to take a step back from that, because I'm sure it feels like, oh, well, I'm not trying to hit my goal or whatever. But realistically, it's going to keep you in this a lot longer. And it's going to keep you from burning out, in the next 2 months, before summer or whatever, where everybody kind of starts to, like you say, give up, and maybe people start kind of dwindling out and things like that. This is a great way to keep yourself in the game, so to speak,
Yeah. And it's also a great way to know, like, let me focus on my sleep this next couple of weeks, because you're working out more, you're in a deficit, your body's going to like stress more. And so therefore your sleep is probably disrupted. And then it affects your sleep, and it affects your hormone level and your testosterone. And it's a good time to focus on recovery, especially if you started at the beginning of the year and now you're about 2 months in and you're starting to feel these effects. I really felt the effects like last week, and I really backed off this past week.
That's funny that you mentioned that. I was talking to a client today who just had some like blood work done and things like that. And she was telling me about it, and talking about how her T levels were like in a good range, but sort of on the lower end of normal. And so we were just having a conversation about like testosterone levels in general and stuff like that. And I was asking what advice their provider had given them and things. And, it's kind of like, to try to sleep more, because she was looking at sort of natural ways of doing that. And I was like, you're kind of on track, like you're working out, you're resistance training, trying to build muscle. She eats super, super well. Like probably one of my best, like quote unquote eaters, but for her, I was like, if I had to point out anything, it's your sleep. And I was like, you don't get enough at all. And that's going to impact your testosterone levels a lot. And in it, like you said, compounds, because if you're having trouble building muscle, another way to build testosterone, it's probably because you're not sleeping, right? If you're making poor choices with nutrition, it's probably because you're not sleeping. And I was like, if you can get that under control, you're going to see like a domino effect of all these other things kind of coming along and increasing, your whole body health, essentially. Your stress levels get managed more, and all of those things in turn will increase testosterone, increase recovery, muscle mass, and so I think we really kind of underestimate that.
Yeah, and it leads me to the concept and idea that I really want to host like maybe like every other Saturday or something, events where we talk about, okay, this is back pain, right? Where is it stemming from too? And the complexity of pain too. So a lot of these people are having knee pain, and they're just like, it's my knee. It's usually not your knee. It's usually your ankle or foot or your hip. And understanding the complexity of how you absorb force, that's what will help you with pain. And I had one client yesterday who was like, I wish I would have invested in a good trainer before. And I told him the story about one of my clients has been training for 40 years with a bunch of trainers. And I got her really late, and she really likes me. She compares me to like her best trainer she's had. And she's like, it's the best investment she's ever made, because now when I ask her to move a certain way, she can do it.
Right.
And after all the injuries, she can make the adjustment. And it's not as hard, quote unquote, because it's been a habit. And then two, when she does make an adjustment, it's like easy to click. And then all of a sudden the body remembers and she's doing better. And it's just, we lose the skill set of these things. So it makes me think like whoever's running that client's son, who said, maybe they lost the skill set and they just try to start running again. And now they're created this new pattern, and that's where strength training would help.
Yeah.
And it leads back to that issue.
Yeah. And like talking about investment too, I mean, honestly, I know it seems like spending money, right? But in reality, I feel like it's going to save you money long term, right? Because you're not going to have to go through things like surgeries or pay super high insurance deductibles to try and get something done, or take medication to lose weight, or change your testosterone levels or things like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's these small investments over time that end up saving you thousands and thousands of dollars later on in life, you know?
And let's talk about the investment differently too. I'm going on a trip. it's going to allow me to enjoy the trip more because I don't feel tired. I don't feel bogged down. I could do adventurous things. I could stay up all night, and I can be more resilient to things that are not normal. Where if I was very unhealthy and just like tired all the time, it would literally make me feel sick while I'm there out in vacation. I can't go up the hill or down the hill, and I'm maybe missing something that I would not normally miss if I was healthy.
Yeah, even like investment and like enjoyment of life, right? If you can like call it something like that.
Yeah, it's just a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm in transition.
Go ahead.
And dude, so everything, you have plastic in your balls, right? Plastic in your brains. And I was just listening to a podcast, right? And it had Rhonda Patrick on there talking about microplastics.
Okay.
It's just so bad. And they're talking about like how it's just everywhere at this point.
Yeah.
There's no way to get there's ways to get rid of it and excrete it outside your body, but it's just really hard. You have to, and all this stuff. And I was thinking too, this is probably why the gap between the wealthy and the lower income is the lifespans. When you look at cities and you see it and you're like, oh, this area is a wealthy area. Their lifespan's a little higher. The lifespan over here is a lot lower. Also, not within that, not just the longevity piece, the quality of life as you age too.
Yeah.
Within these areas, because they want you to get a reverse osmosis like water filter. They want you to get HEPA filters for air. Then they want to make sure the ventilation's good. And I'm just like, all these things, I'm like, cost.
And it sucks too, because like, as I don't know, humanity continues, right? Like pollution will continue to get worse. It's harder to drink the water, right? Like you're saying, all these things like filters and stuff like that. To me, I feel like, I don't know how this works economically, but these are the requirements to live, to have clean water, to have clean air, stuff like that. And it kind of sucks when it's only available, like a high quality of life is only available to the people that can pay for it. Like it kind of sucks. And
you got to privatize everything, bro.
I know. Isn't that insane though? It's like, oh, you can only live a nice, healthy life if you can afford it. Like that sucks, and it's unfortunate that, like you said, there's this huge gap of, being able to live a longer life, live a healthier life, a better quality life between the two, socioeconomic classes. Yeah. It's crazy. Camille's mom recently just got rid of all of her like plastic Tupperware and switched all over to glass and stuff.
That's my next goal for myself.
Yeah.
Apparently black plastic is worse.
Black plastic. Okay.
Because it's black. No, apparently it's worse. It had, because it's covered and it has more PFAs in it.
Okay.
The way it's sealed. Apparently it's worse.
Interesting. What the hell do you even have? I've only ever seen like plastic bags, like trash bags and stuff like that are black. I've never had like any Tupperware or anything like that.
No, they come the to-go boxes.
Oh shit. Like the little phone boxes, right? Yeah, you're right.
Come on, bro. They're
I
everywhere.
Just
and then the black
microwave.
Forks and
and yeah, shit. Yeah.
I've never seen it before. Dude, you use it all the time.
It's because I don't see color, bro.
Oh my god.
They're all just forks to me.
They're all forks. They're brown, black, yellow.
It's all the same.
White. They're all forks.
You gotta look inward, bro. There's something wrong with you.
Some of it is like the worst things that you could do with plastic too is like heat, because it leaches.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Or like when you have a water bottle, it's not, you got to think about how long it's been.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah.
Right. And then so there's things that you don't even think about. You want to get raw milk and be like super healthy. And you're like, it's in a glass container, you have a bottle on top, but the way it was processed was through a plastic tube, warm raw milk.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, it's heated and it's going through plastic.
Yeah.
So like, is it really the raw milk that much better? And it's just like, there's no way to get like past it.
It's really hard. Yeah. Unless you're like, I don't know, have a fucking farm in your backyard. But even then it's like, is the soil good? Is it, it's in the air, And so it's really hard. I sent you a video today, kind of late, with this guy that I follow. And he was talking about this, I guess like a term. I don't want to say it's a condition. I want to say it was called like orthorexia or something like that.
Oh, it's where guys,
like you're like an obsession with health, right? And like always trying to do everything and how it kind of impacts your friendships and life and all this stuff. And while I will, even he said it too. He was like, I'm not going to bag on anybody for trying super hard in the gym or trying to be healthy or things like that. But there's some stuff I find that like, I have clients who like stress over stuff like that, where they're like, oh, well, what do I do? I can only buy food from here, or I don't, and it kind of starts to take over their life in a sense. And while I don't want to say it's like, oh, you just can't control it, just like do whatever. It's also something that you can't obsess over. Do your best, right?
It's like Buddha said, balance.
But yeah, honestly, and it's like, hey, if you can switch over to all glass, do it. You know what I mean? There's
do the small things you can do, whether you're wealthier or lower income.
Right. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you can only focus on what you have, and what you can manage and control. Because, I can also sit here and be like, oh, I hate them. I'll never be healthy, but it's like, there are things that I can do, right?
Everybody's against me.
To at least try, to do something along the lines of living a healthier lifestyle.
You know how I have lower testosterone too?
Yeah.
In there, they were talking about receipts. And I was like, I worked at Target. And she's like, cashiers are probably like the worst ones. They touch receipts all day.
Oh, yeah. I think that you mentioned that before. Yeah.
Dang, dude. I was like, maybe Target, that's why we have low testosterone.
I would eat them.
Stupid.
Since we never got lunches.
But that's why it prints out in black.
The paper? Because I guess it
uses heat and it's plastic.
Right. Yeah. Because you can like rub on it and it'll like change colors on the back and stuff like that.
Why'd you rub your penis on it?
Why do I have low T? Jacking off with a receipt. What's going on?
Oh, dude. But it's just interesting, right? The phenomenon that we're learning about this.
Yeah.
And we have to take a step, I guess, away from plastics just because it's in the brain. It's across the blood-brain barrier. There's people who exaggerate the numbers, right? Like they'll say like, oh, it's almost like you're eating a credit card a day. You can't really say that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then the way we store food, you just got to do the best you can do. But what I wanted to bring up though is for those carnivore people, is the best way to do that is actually to get fiber intake.
To remove plastics from your body, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Because fiber grabs whatever it can and takes it with it to help it excrete out the body. So that's why vegetables are important. Sorry, bro. You have to eat your vegetables.
Fuck, man, but I hate it.
Yeah. It's okay.
That's actually really interesting. I wonder if there's any vegetables that are like better at doing it, or if it's just fiber in general.
They just said get fiber.
Yeah. But it's hard though, because like,
is it though?
Because
is it hard because you just don't want it?
No. Not hard about eating vegetables, but let me talk about this real quick. Because you can go to the store, I can pick up my vegetables from the little, produce aisle, and then what do I do with it? What do I put it in? A plastic bag. And then I wrap it up and I leave it in my car and I drive home. And it's like, I don't fucking know, dude.
How much time did you? It wasn't in the plastic a long time.
No, but they also sell like prepackaged stuff,
so that maybe the prepackaged is probably a little bit worse because they've been around plastic a lot longer. But even then, it's better than not having no fiber.
So talking about like maybe what you can control, right?
Exactly.
Hey, if you can afford the prepackaged stuff, that's still probably better than not doing it at all.
Correct.
Right? Or buying a supplement that's inside a plastic jar. Right.
Get that fiber.
Yeah. I wonder when we started using plastic so much. Like, when did that shift happen? And what did we use before?
Probably when the oil industry and Rockefeller said, "Oh, I got this item."
Fuck.
And they started making it.
Damn, dude.
Same thing with prescription drugs.
Everybody's against me, bro.
Good old Rockefellers.
Damn, that's interesting. I want to look at that. Like, when did we have this major shift into plastic? Because, bro, even now it's like your fucking car's made out of plastic. That's all black plastic, bro.
It's not even cars used to hit and just get dents. Now they're like, it's like, oh, you got to buy a new car because it's completely broken,
bro. I don't know,
wild,
man.
Right? Wild,
bro. We don't have an outline. We just get all conspiracy. I should have worn a tinfoil hat coming in today.
It would go viral.
Yeah.
No. The next thing I want to talk about is what's been coming up on my social media for whatever reason, dude.
Okay.
I have no idea. But all of a sudden, all these like why men don't want to celebrate their birthdays.
Okay.
And we had this whole talk. I don't know if it's because we brought the Valentine's card thing up and I was talking about it. And all of a sudden,
it heard you.
It heard me. But there's a guy he wanted to get a pizza that was 4 hours away. Right.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a story, and then these ladies like, I don't understand men, and
Okay.
why do they want to celebrate their birthdays?
I want to hear.
And he was like, he told his wife, okay, for my birthday, I really just want this pizza place. It's 4 hours away. We'll go drive, and I'll go grab it, and you know, or we'll
like
go
make
eat
a
there.
day of it, right?
Yeah, we'll eat there, and then we'll come back, and I'll make it back before midnight. And then she was like, well, why don't we just like stay there? We can make a whole weekend of it and all that. He's like, okay, cool. He just wants the pizza, right? So they go over there, and it's the first night, and he's like, let's go get the pizza. She's like, no, let's just get fast food. And I'm tired or whatever. So they get the fast food. Then they spend the next day, let's just say this is Saturday. Hey, let's do these things for the kids. Let's go have fun and blah, blah, blah. And then towards the middle of the day, she's like, I'm in the mood. I'm just say, I forgot what the food was, but it was like, I'm in the mood for Chinese food. Right?
Oh,
hey. Right. And so he's like, he pleases her, gets Chinese food. He's like, okay, maybe we'll get the pizza the next day. Then they go to a breakfast place and all that. She's like, we got to go. We got to go back. And so they never get his pizza.
Bro.
They travel 4 hours for it. And then a lot of these like psychologist women have been saying like, why don't men want to celebrate their birthday? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, I think we've talked about it like in person.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's just like you ask for something and they do something else. Mm. Right. Because it's not what they want to do.
Right. This makes me think, okay, because I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, a year ago, similar thing, okay? It was my birthday. I was like, I want to go to my favorite restaurant. What did I want to do? I wanted to work out. I wanted to go to my favorite restaurant, and I wanted to go home. That's all I wanted to do that day. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that I did none of it. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it wasn't necessarily anybody's fault. My dad and my grandmother wanted me to go over and have cake and stuff like that. So I went over, and then that just ended up taking a really long time. And everything I wanted to do that day just kind of fell apart. Right. And it was for me, right. And this is maybe just me in general, but I also think it's like men also, because we're like grown and told to be selfless in a way. Sacrifice for other people, right? Like it doesn't matter what you want to do as long as everybody else is happy or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're just told that your whole life, right? Like that's what makes a man. So I was like, well, my dad and my grandmother want to see me, right? Mm-hmm. Like, okay, I'll spend some time with them, And then it was like, I had already gotten off of work and all this stuff. And then, and I was like, okay, well, whatever, I'll just go home and stuff like that. And, I think that ends up happening too, because like I think about the story that you just said, and it's like, well, the guy's probably like, well, I want to make my wife happy, so let's go eat fast food. Well, we're here, we did drive 4 hours, let's do something for the kids, and he keeps putting himself back and back and back and back. And then that happens a few times, you go, what the fuck does it even matter? I don't even want to do it.
Yeah, at this point, y'all don't care enough to think about me. Right?
Yeah, so I give up and I don't care anymore. And then every guy I talk to is like, my birthday doesn't matter. It's whatever. It's just another day.
There's very few guys I know that celebrate their birthday hardcore and they make like a big deal out of it. Because I think most of us have not been celebrated.
And
then you ask, I just want to go fishing and have a break. I just want to have a break.
Yeah, because
then they get upset that you want to go fishing and have a break. And you're just like, this is what I want. Like, why can't I have what I want?
And it's funny because you sort of minimize it every year, right? Because it's like same thing with me. Like on my 25th birthday, I had a really, really big, huge celebration. It was awesome and super fun. And I still look at back fondly. And then it was like year after year, I was like, I want to do this. And it wouldn't happen. Okay, well, maybe I'll do less. Wouldn't happen. Oh, well, maybe I just want to go eat and work out, which is like a normal fucking day. Didn't happen, and now this year, it's funny because Camille and I just had a conversation about this. And she was like, let's do something for your birthday this year. Like, I know you didn't really get what you like wanted to do the last time. And I could tell that you're really upset about it and stuff. And I was just like, I don't even know, man. Like, I don't know if I really do want to do anything, maybe
it gives you the reason why men just pull back and not talk anymore.
Yeah.
And then they're asking like, talk. Why don't you talk? It's like every time I talk, you literally don't listen.
Yeah. Or like people don't listen, right? Like just society doesn't listen in general. And it's like, I don't know. Yeah. This is a good point, dude. It's weird.
It was really interesting. And I just been getting a lot of things and like psychologists asking questions. And it's crazy because I think what we compare most men to is to the 2% of men that get everything. Right. And we're like, well, men have so much privilege and so many advantages, but you're not talking to the average man. And I think D.L. Hughley was the one I was listening to, and he's talking about black men. And he's talking about like, you use me, the exception and not the rule as a black man. It's like, this is the exceptions. Like, what is the actual rule and what are the actual percentages of people getting out? Like, you can't really just be like, oh, you know, you did it and all that stuff. But why are these other people not making it out? Why are these other men are struggling? Like, you can't always just look at this one example. And I think too many times in society, we look at, well, if they did it, why couldn't they get out? They went through so much adversity and their experience is not the same as their experience. Their brain is not the same as their brain. Like, we are forgetting the number one rule of Maslow's hierarchy of needs when it comes to men and people in general is safety and security at the bottom of it. If you don't get any of that, you're not going to talk. You're not going to succeed. You're not going to get better. If you have the scarcity. I mean, I was having this conversation with a client the other day, and I was like, I remember when my car broke down one time, and I was like freaking the fuck out. Like, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, so stressed out. And I just tried to make the best decision at the time. Now, if that would happen, I would take my time, get the car that I want and do things that I need. I mean, it's as simple as like going into a clearance section and being like, oh my God, I need one of those and I can't get it. But then all of a sudden it's like 50% off. And even though I don't really need it, I'll make the purchase because that scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
Right. Well, now I'm like, look, that's cool. It's there. I don't need it. You know?
But it's because you have more security, right? Yeah. It's because you have more safety. It's because you've built the foundation first that allows you to like take the time, right, to make a better decision and things like that. Yeah, that's pretty good, man.
And then I think a lot of guys right now are not safe and secure because the whole Me Too movement scared the good guys.
Yeah,
right?
and it's funny too because I feel like if more couples talk to each other, you'd find that you probably face like the same challenges, right? Like at least, okay, I understand it's not the exact same, but it's like, you know, Camille and I will talk about stuff like about our day or I don't know what we're thinking about at the moment and stuff like that. And it's like we're experiencing the same stuff. You know what I mean? Like the challenges of life every day or, you know, feeling exhausted or whatever.
From different views, right?
From different views. But it's like at the end of the day, you know, like she'll sometimes be like, man, I'm, you know, going through XYZ and it's, you know, I want to talk about it, but I also know you're going through the same stuff. And it's like, yeah, you know, we are, and we can talk about it or whatever. But I think that a lot of couples probably don't do that. You know what I mean? And so you get home and you're just like, you know, they don't understand what I'm going through or whatever. And then when, you know, let's say a woman is complaining to their man or whatever it is. And then he's like, oh, I understand. I get it. Like I'm going through that. They're like, no, you don't. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then it just like becomes this whole big thing where it's challenging to communicate with each other. But man, the reality is I feel like the average woman and the average guy and the average anybody is probably going through the same general shit, you know? Yeah. We see clients every day and they'll talk to us about their problems and things like that. And 90% of it, I'm like, yeah, I fucking get it, man. Like we're all kind of going through the same shit. Up, buttercup. You know, like, the challenges of being a parent, the challenges of working a difficult job or the, you know, everyday life or money and home and stuff. And it's like, you know, I kind of sit around and I'm just like, yeah, we're all in the same boat, you know? And I think that we need to like be sensitive to that for each other, you know, because we shouldn't be like fighting each other about this shit.
I don't know. It's just insane. So that's one thing that's going through my social media.
Yeah.
The other one, it's all about the bucks. Money. Where's the markets going?
Yeah.
It's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Like the housing market's going to crash. The car market's going to crash. Everything's going to crash.
Yeah. I forgot who I was talking to. And we were talking about just like how like fear sells, you know,
it is,
and, you know, we talked about that, I think on a few podcasts ago where I was like saying, you know, if I go out and I try and sell like individual health, you know, like that doesn't really sell as much as me going, you want to lose 30 pounds in 3 weeks?
You're going to die if you don't get rid of your microplastics.
Yeah. Or that, right? Like, you know, here, take my new microplastic, you know, supplement that purges your body of it, right? That's going to sell way easier than me going, hey, well, maybe you should try switching from plastic to glass or maybe try, you know what I mean? Like, and it sucks with all of that stuff. And also in terms of, you know, you talking about money, and how that's becoming a bigger issue, you know? I mean, we can look at politics right now. We can look at, you know, the fitness industry and all of those things and how everything is driven just by, I mean, I guess I don't really know how to say, but like preying on people, you know, and what they are scared of, and then offering a solution for it. Right. And saying my solution is the solution that you need.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know,
speaking of money and stuff like that, I was looking at an interview and this guy was talking about like, yeah, when these policies were in place, we were hitting record profits and yada, yada, you know, and I was thinking today, so many people just worship the idea of money. Right. And money to me is like worshiping the idea of, BMI, body mass index. Mm-hmm. It's one metric of what the human body is. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when we look at one metric, that's why society is where it's at right now. A lot of people worship money. They don't worry about like helping people. They don't look at like multiple facets of life. And I think that's the problem we're having now. And I feel like we're using one metric for everything. One metric for fat loss, one metric for strength, one metric for this. And when you use one metric, it doesn't mean anything, right? So let's talk about strength, right? Let's say it's the bench press. Well, it doesn't measure my leg strength. It doesn't measure the amount of control I have in that bench press with that strength. It doesn't measure what I'm thinking mentally, right? And what's going on. So all because let's say I do 315 doesn't mean I'm a happy person, but I'm strong.
And
but I'm not controlled.
Because if you can break down something like a bench press, right, into let's say 10 different like subcategories, right, of it. Okay, that's a fucking bench press in a gym, right? Like now let's go to government or the economy or businesses or things like that, right? And how they're run. And it's like that has to have multiple facets of measuring success or measuring growth or progress or whatever it is, right? But like you've said in the past, who was it that said like money is the only thing that matters or the only metric that we should be measuring or something like that?
You're talking about like Milton Friedman?
Yes. And so it's like, you know,
that's not exactly what he said.
Right. But general
it's a big
idea.
Metric,
Yeah. But it's like, once you just focus on that one thing, I think businesses.
It's a good metric. Don't get me wrong.
And you know, in the same way of like, talking about a bench press, right? Strength is probably the number one metric, right? That's going to like tell you whether or not this thing is happening or not. But it's like in terms of businesses, you know, and like the turnover of things or how they say, oh, people don't want to work anymore. They're not loyal to the companies anymore.
They've been saying that since like 1930s.
And
all the time.
And they're going to say it over and over and over again, you know? And it's like, okay, well, you know, let's look at common denominators here, right? What companies do the best, right? Are they the ones that keep their people the longest? Are they the ones that offer the most things, right? Like,
or they take the most subsidies from government?
Yeah, right. Where's the money coming from? And so, yeah, I mean, talking about money, we could even look at it like that, right? Like, okay, well, let's look at money in terms of different aspects.
It was funny. I was watching like Jon Stewart or whatever, and he was just like, you know, he was pretending he was being an accountant. Like, I'm going to be part of Doge and I'm going to get rid of the tax cuts. He's like, well, look, there's record profits over here for oil. Why do we need to subsidize them? Let's just cut that. And I'm like, well, that's a big part of it. If all these big businesses are doing so great, record profits, why are we subsidizing those businesses? And
that's
they're not.
Great question.
It's a record profit. We should be subsidizing if they need it because we need to lower the price of whatever it is.
Right.
So there's a lot of bullshit going on, right? And I don't think people see that.
And I think it's just a lot of like stuff in your pockets, right? At the end of the day.
And then someone broke down universal healthcare the other day.
Oh, now I don't want to know.
And it was like we pay, I think, 4.9 trillion, and universal healthcare would cost 3.3 by estimation.
Oh, you told me this. Yeah.
And then we're actually spending more than what we would spend in universal healthcare.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
And then there's record profits for these companies as well. Yeah. But profit's the only metric that matters.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because then if you do it like that, then it's like, okay, we'll just keep doing what we're doing.
I think that's what led to all this buying of like packaging plants and all that stuff. And look at the bird flu happen because now we don't have independents doing the work. Yeah. And now that's why the cost of eggs are going up. The cost of chicken's going up. It's just like,
I just saw another thing today. I think
it makes it more susceptible to these things because we're not as independent, because we're so worried about hitting this $1 trillion thing versus being smaller communities.
Yeah, I was watching the news today at a client's house, and they were
the news. Yeah. This guy's growing up.
And there's a company that makes like meal replacement, like supplemental kind of shake things that, you know, had like some listeria outbreak or whatever. So they were like, you know, like to your point, it's not like, oh, this one, you know, product that this company makes is whatever. They were like, nope, everything that this company makes is now fucked because, and I was like, these people probably supply hospitals with this stuff or care homes or whatever, you know, and now they don't have any options because it's all fucked.
I know. I have a friend who works at a bread place, right? They make bread. They make Whataburgers, McDonald's bread, these other local places, the school bread. Imagine if it fucks up, there's like something there. All of San Antonio has to get bread from somewhere, but
oh my God,
then they're gonna have to import it in from another city.
Yeah,
and then there's gonna cost more, and you know it's gonna be a big issue. This is why we need multiple manufacturers, we need to get back into these small communities.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're like building monopolies and just not calling it that, you know.
I like that game.
I do like that game.
Yeah. All right, guys. If y'all like what we're doing, please share, like, subscribe. We're on Apple and Spotify. You can rate and review. Check us out on YouTube. Hit the subscribe and like button down below. Then our website is strengthsolutionspodcast.com. We have free blogs, free guides and programs for purchase. strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com for future fitness questions. Strength Solutions Podcast for TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
Until next time, guys. What? Peace out. Whoop, whoop.